Well, that was quite the long nap now, wasn't it? Why, I feel just about as refreshed as a pickle in an ice bath. Well, howdy there, babes. If it ain't just your favorite girl in the world, Autumn Bottom Brown, here in the new location of Denver, Colorado. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that something? That's right. Your girl here, she got a new wig. Lovely to be here again. Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Don't count on this being consistent. I'm hoping for a bi-weekly release of Autumn Nights, but we'll see. First question of the night, of course, what are we drinking? Now, I wish it was liquid nitrogen, because I am burning alive. I've got a lovely glass of some cold brew coffee, which it is around 8 p.m. at the time of filming, so we'll see how that goes later on. Party all night till the sun comes up. Now, I asked my lovely patrons to vote on the topic of discussion for our first Autumn Nights back in Jesus Christ, Denver, and they decided that tonight we're going to discuss season not 1, not 2, but 3 of Interview with the Vampire, which has just begun production in Toronto, Canada. Now, I asked for your questions, quandaries, theories, and thoughts on all matters Interview with the Vampire season 3 on YouTube, on Instagram, on Patreon, on the sidewalk, and honestly, most of those people just said, please leave me alone, I'm on my way to work. But thank God the internet, as it always does, came through. And so today we're going to go through some of those wonderful questions that you presented to me and just see what we find out. Now, before we get into it, though, I do want to address something that has been taking place over the past year since season 2. As we all know, I did receive sponsorship from Rollin and Adam to conduct my interviews. I got the episodes a week early so that I could view them, make my videos, and yada, yada, yada. And as such, a lot of people are under the belief that I am privy to top secret information that even the Talamasca would be envious of. And I just want to take a moment to say, guys, that's true. I'm CC'd on every email. They zoom me in for every writer's room discussion. To be honest, all right, are you ready for this expose? I'm actually the real showrunner of the show. So take everything that I say in this video as God's gospel truth. It is scrawled in stone by Moses. 100% guarantee on everything moving forward. Now, season 3 of Interview with the Vampire, based upon the Vampire Lestat book by Anne Rice. We're having a protagonist change this season. Louis Dupont-Delac is still going to be around, but he is not number one guy. Who is? Apparently Devil's Minion. 70s versus 22 Devil's Minion queen. Armand is gonna fuck that old man for sure. Devil's Minion, prayer emoji, prayer emoji, prayer emoji, prayer emoji, prayer emoji. Past Devil's Minion? Did it happen? Was Armand Alice? Did Louis know? Devil's Minion? Or we riot? I need Devil's Minion. Please talk about your theories pertaining to a certain pair of actors deviling their minions. No thoughts. Just Devil's Minion. Will Devil's Minion be modern day, past, or both? Will it even be in season 3? One filming location for season 3 is a retro-looking motel. Some people think they're filming DM. What do you think? I literally just want to talk about the 70s-looking motel they're filming in. Will there be any hint of the Devil's Minion storyline included this season? How do you think they're going to tackle Devil's Minion? I'm so excited for it, but I'm curious how they're going to include the OG storyline with the new one. I want to find out more about what happened to Daniel and Armand. What's the truth about the 1970s, what really happened in Dubai, both while Louis was still there and after he left. Does Daniel recover any more missing memories? Just feels so unresolved from season 1 and 2. Now, obviously, this is a topic of moderate interest, I would say, so I'm not going to push it off till later in the video. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. All right, guys, I'm going to be real with you. This is Lestat's season, his first season with Rains being the new protagonist of the show. I don't know that we're going to have time with everything else that we need to establish and cover to go back to the 70s and explore all of that. You need to leave! The only way that I see that popping back up again would be is in the midst of, Daniel and Lestat's interview. Obviously, Louis came into the interview with a certain goal. He wanted to stay tied to a specific narrative, but underneath it all, also kind of wanted Daniel to help him figure out what was going on between him and Armand. So I think he's looking at Daniel almost as like a helper, even though he was, combative at times and pushed back, but ultimately he allowed Daniel to dig in. Whereas I think Daniel and Lestat, on the other hand, they're a bit more similar, Louis, he was cool and calculated, at least in the present day. That's not going to be Lestat. He's more open, he's more raw, and more likely to fight back. I expect Daniel to prod about certain things or just react in ways that Lestat doesn't like, and Lestat's going to be nasty back to him and maybe try to bring up, well, what happened between you and Armand, and try to dig into Daniel's past. That's how I see that happening. That being a reaction to Daniel trying to dig in, then Lestat's digging into Daniel and going into his past to kind of lash out. As far as the 70s looking motel goes, again, maybe it could be DM, but I envision it more as probably they're on the road. Sure, they're on this gorgeous, lovely double-decker tour bus, apparently. Obsessed with that, by the way, can I just say. Love that idea. It's just like a sardine can. A double-wide sardine can of a ticking time bomb where no one on tour can escape each other. Lestat and Daniel, if Daniel is following around the entire tour, won't be able to escape each other. Oh my God, those tensions, baby. Quite literally getting bottled up in this glam tube, this rolling glam tube. But I mean, so they aren't staying in motels and hotels, I'm imagining, since they have the bus. But what do rock stars do when they're on tour? They go to seedy motels and do drugs and fuck bitches and all that jazz. So could be that. Sure. Could be something with DM. Or maybe we're going back to the 70s with Lestat and a certain night in the 70s where he was when all of that took place. I'm more inclined to believe that because I feel like that's going to be a scene that we might revisit. If we're revisiting scenes, that seems like one, I would put it up for contention for revisitation from Lestat's point of view. And then the spiral of what happened after that. And how he ended up, in the shack in New Orleans where he was when Louis found him more recently. So while I don't think that we're going to be revisiting Devil's Minion in the 70s this season, I'm going to say maybe hold out hope for next season, because I get with season 1 and 2, we didn't really get into the 70s until season 2 had been established, because the first season was really digging into Louis' story. Beyond that, we start, expanding out a little bit more. So I could see us starting out a similar way, how we're starting very Lestat centered and then kind of branching out a little bit more as we get into the next season. Also, I very much see Armand popping back up to devil the shit out of Daniel. And by a certain degree, if he's fucking around with Daniel, that means he's going to be fucking up shit with Lestat too. So 2 birds, 1 stone. Armand has been cut loose for the first time ever. This is the first time he's not had someone or something to give his life purpose. And so I think all hell is going to break loose with him. With him on his own. And so we're going to see some freak shit from him. This is from 205. Remember Malik hunting him down and everything? Him burning up his fellow coven members? It's Gremlin era. I think we're going to get Gremlin era, except in an Hermes suit, I want him to be a fucking little monster, Because how's he going to react when he finds out that his little pet, Daniel, is teaming up with who? Who? Brat Pence Loverboy Deluxe? No! Lestat gets Louis. Lestat gets Marius. Now Lestat gets Daniel too? Bullshit! That's gonna fire a motherfucker up. I think we're gonna see footage from the documentary just randomly deleted. I think we're gonna see sets just exploding into flames. I think, Daniel won't be able to sleep during the day because someone's going to be tapping on his windows, asking him to explain the world to him. I think the Devil's Minion that a lot of people are anticipating to have happened in the 70s, much, much, much more likely to happen in the modern times. Because also, like, Eric Bogosian was one of the 2 people who Roland Jones, like, went into the very first season knowing that he wanted to cast. So obviously we're using Daniel a lot with him doing this documentary with Lestat, but I think we're going to continue to use him as much as possible, similar to Jacob Anderson. We're not going to let him go just because in the books Louis kind of fades to the background a bit. So that is that. But overall, like I said, Devil's Minion's not going to be the focus, and I think Rollins even said that he's like, I feel like everything I've given you has been Devil's Minion so far, so I don't know that he's necessarily has that at the forefront of his mind, like maybe some other people do. This is going to be Lestat's show. This is his go-round. This is his time with the mic, quite literally. And like I said, especially in this first season with him, you have to prioritize time and what's most important to where the end of the season needs to end up. And I don't know what that's going to be, but I mean, you have to think about how much does the Devil's Minion arc directly, lead into the Akasha storyline. Is it fun? For sure. But is it as necessary as some of the other stuff that we need to cover? No. I got asked if we are revisiting the Dubai turning scene. No. Rollin has explicitly stated we're not revisiting that. So, sorry. Clara Rivoli asks, I just want to know if Assad is getting the threesome he wants so much. I think he deserves it, and I do too. Listen, he wants it, we want it, everybody wants it. I say, let's bend that boy into a pretzel, guys. We can do it. The power of us. Let him have his threesome. Bella Enter Books asks, thoughts on Danstat this upcoming season? Or Armandstat. Danstat, guys. For real, do we think Daniel has the time and patience to put up with Lestat? No. I could see Lestat flirting with Daniel, but as a way to like ruffle his feathers. Similar to the relationship with David in Body Thief. How Lestat's like, are you sure we have to get my body back? I mean, there's a perfectly good bed right here. We could just fuck instead. And David's like, oh my God, you fucking whore. Buckle up. Focus. We got one chance to get your fucking body back, or it could be gone forever. And Lestat's just like, I guess. See, that's the thing about Daniel being turned as an older man. He just does not have the stamina for the bullshittery like someone who was turned at a young age, like Louis does for Lestat. So no, I don't see Danstat happening. Sorry, guys. Armandstat, I mean, yeah. Oh, it's so juicy. I'm so curious to see what Lestat has to say about all that. Because, I mean, Lestat has a very complicated relationship with Armand. He does, like, flip back and forth, being like, oh, he's so beautiful, and I wish that we could be together. I wish that he wasn't so fucking crazy. He's like an angel. He's like a little cherub. But then, on the other times, he's like, oh, that fucking little grub. I want to step on him and grind him into the sand. The next biggest hot topic on everybody's minds, Gabrielle casting? Suggestions on Gabrielle's casting. Who is your dream casting for Gabrielle? Who do you think should play Gabrielle, and why is it Cate Blanchett? What's your dream casting for Gabrielle and Marius? Casting! I'm so curious. Cannot wait to see Gabrielle and Marcus. Marcus. Sorry. Marius et al. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Guys, I'm not a fan caster. I don't know anything about casting. When I read books, the one time in a decade that I do that, and people are like, who do you think should play this character? I just say, I don't know. The dude in my head. I just have no talent for it. I don't know what it is. But here's the deal. The most popular fan casts I've seen: Cate Blanchett, Nicole Kidman, and Gillian Anderson. And guys, I love that we're dreaming big for our little show. And not to say they've all done very small projects as well. So not to say that it's completely out of the realm of possibility. But Gabrielle is a role that's going to be tied in for multiple seasons. Who knows how many seasons moving forward. And all three of those actors, I think that they're trying to do more one and done stuff. Okay, so like a miniseries, a movie, an independent film, stuff like that, where they're not locked in for an indeterminable amount of time with a specific show. But also, I don't think the team is interested in getting big names anyways, like not like these huge A-list names. I think what's been exciting about this show is all the new people and new actors that I've been exposed to that, I mean, we never would have thought, who would have thought to cast Sam Reed? Like, I remember seeing that headshot and being like, oh my God, that guy? Oh, this show's going to be terrible. Or, you know, Jacob Anderson. I never in a million years would have thought that. Casting of a lifetime for both of them. And just like everybody else. What I will say, if you are really, really into fan casting and like actually want to try to be accurate with it, I would say don't look at movies and TV shows for potential candidates. Look to the West End, look to Broadway, look to theater actors, okay? Because that's who Roland is most interested in. He said that time and time again. He loves theater, he loves shoving it down into television watchers' faces, he loves actors who can take really, you know, melodramatic, big language and distill it down into something that feels like just regular everyday speech. So look to theater actors, and then if on top of that you can find someone who Roland or Adam has worked with in the past, sorry, that's where I would look, because they like keeping up those connections. You see a lot of people who they've worked with in the past pop up again and again in this show. So I don't make any predictions like that. Sorry to disappoint you. As far as this little theory about Marius being Jasper in the Talamasca show, you know, the American who's clearly a vampire based on his nails and eyes from the set photos that were, I don't know if they were leaked or what, back in November. But no, I said this in a previous video and I'll say it again now. I don't think that they would introduce a character that's as important to the Interview with a Vampire storyline as Marius in an untested show. No matter how well vetted the showrunners are, no matter how, you know, good that they think that the story that they're telling is, it's not been out in the world yet. It's not, you know, made it to audiences or critics to let AMC know, is this a success yet or is it not? I have high hopes for the show. I'm feeling really optimistic about it the more and more I hear. But like I said, I just don't see that happening. A character as important as Marius is going to have his debut in the vampire show, you know? Also, why would Marius be in the Talamasca? Why would he give a shit? Hey, he's already got a mission right now with watching over those who must be kept, okay? Like, if he's... What? I have the Jasper, like, info thing, but isn't he, like, one of the top... American people in the Talamasca? That's got to take a lot of time and a lot of dedication to like keep up with. He can't be doing both, like making sure that no one's ever, with all the satellites and, you know, fracking and shit going on in the world, that no one's gonna come across those who must be kept. Okay, he's busy doing that. And like even in Blood and Gold, he at first was kind of irritated with the Talamasca, but then he, what was the guy's name? Was it Roger? Was it Robert? Started with an R. I think it was Robert, the Englishman, right? Who was in the Talamasca, who was watching him, kind of created this friendship with him. But it was more just the interest in the man who would seek out vampires or seek out these supernatural beings. I think they kind of, vampires at large who know about the Talamasca are just like, ugh, these fucking guys. It's like the Paps, you know? They got my picture again. They're outside my door taking photos of me spilling my Dunkin' all over myself. But anyways, back to Gabrielle. Bowie Mercury is asking the important questions here. Will Lestat and Gabrielle be toned down, or will it be even freakier? Guys, they're gonna be full-on skydiving out of a Cessna 182 to tongue dive down each other's throats, okay? We're getting mother-son penetration in 4K. Banned in 195 countries the show's gonna be. Yeah! I'm kidding. Mad. Man, oh man, oh man, am I interested in the answer to this question. Because I will say, I think in the books, the whole shift from Gabrielle being like his mother to his lover is to kind of show how once you're turned into a vampire, all of those human, preconceptions are just driven away from you. And you are like all of those ties that you had to who you were as a human are no more. Anne Rice has said her vampires were essentially like genderless, sexualityless, just everything. They weren't tamped down by any sort of label or anything, including mother and son. So I think that was a way to show that like vampiredom can even transcend, the most base of human connections, to where we go from mother son to on the same level and lovers. Because, when I've reread them, I don't necessarily get a sense of like there being a creepy romance between them before the turn happened, But that being said, I think the show's definitely going to have room to fill that out a little bit more. No, I don't think it's going to be Gabrielle necessarily being in love with Lestat, or like Lestat even being in love with her in that way growing up. But I think when you think about both of their circumstances, Gabrielle being a young woman in the 1700s, married off to this bumfuck country lord, and just being made into a baby factory, all of her fortune lost, tied to this horrible, horrible place, to live this horrible life, all because, why? Because she's a woman and that's what she was supposed to do. And so with Lestat, when she has Lestat A, he looks like her. He acts more like her. She likes him a lot more than his two other brothers who survived. So they're kind of each other's shoulder to lean on and get through life. And Gabrielle loves Lestat because she sees herself in Lestat and not, her disgusting husband. And I think she turns cold to him when he acts in ways that are not similar to her, when he is more emotional. So there's this interesting ego at play there too, of like only finding the qualities like that you have within yourself attractive, or superior within your own child. But then also too, obviously, like Lestat needs Gabrielle, and Gabrielle's the only thing that really kind of gets him through his childhood, giving him his mastiff puppies and his flintlock rifle, and getting him his horse. She gets him his horse, right? And then selling her family jewels to give him the money to get out of Auvergne and run off to Paris with Nikki. She's the one who prompts Lestat to, talk to Nikki after he kills the wolves and everything like that. So they really lean on each other and need each other to get through life. And then especially like Gabrielle, obviously in the end, Lestat ends up turning her into a vampire. And now it's like, oh my God, I don't need you anymore. I can just go off and finally live my life instead of living vicariously through your life. So there's so much to play with there. So I don't think that they're going to necessarily shy away from the potential of an incestuous little, kisses here and there and language and shit like that. However, I think that they're going to build it in a little bit more, to where it's not quite as sudden. Do I think we're going to get full-on tongue kisses? I don't know. I could see it going both ways.
Well, hi. I just wanted to warn you, the audio quality is about to go straight through the gutter, into the depths of hell. I started a new video, and I forgot to hit recording on my Zoom device. And there's a fan and music playing, all in the room tone. So, sorry. I will say, at times I do think Anne Rice writes things in a way to kind of be, I don't want to say for shock value, because I do think that the relationship between Lestat and Gabrielle is more than that. I think she very purposefully wanted to make people feel uneasy, with certain aspects of the books that she was writing. And the writing team has proved that they're okay with, writing things that'll make the audience uneasy and uncomfortable and maybe mad. But at the end of the day, I do think that they do a really good job of making that
work for the story and not just doing it to get a reaction. So I think whatever they end up doing with Gabrielle and Lestat, if we do end up getting some, Frenchies Frenching, they're going to make it in a strange way make sense and fit within the storyline. Moving on to our beloved Louis. Drusilla asks, is Jacob going to be back? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, he already is back, sis. He's been spotted in Toronto. But Rollins stated explicitly since season 1 that they're not getting rid of Louis. Louis sticking around. This is a Louis and Lestat show. So, yeah, no worries there. He's gonna be around. How that'll look moving forward is a great question. The Artemis 1994 asks how they're going to adapt Louis' storyline, if there are plot points or characteristics from book Louis that were not used in the show. If possible, can the TV show improve upon the novels? I think it already has. So here's what I think. I mentioned David earlier. It's a character in the books. Pops up at the end of Queen of the Damned. And he's the superior general superior of the Telemasca. In London, he's an older man. And he goes on a fun little adventure with Lestat in The Tale of the Body Thief, and then just continues to pop up for some fucking reason throughout the rest of the books. Merrick ruined all of my opinions of David, so I don't like him. However, I've maintained since season 2, when we knew that the next season, if we were going to get one, was going to be centered on Lestat, that the character of David is going to be trifurcated into 3 different characters. So the older man aspect, as we've discussed, the person who's been able to live a full life and then be forcibly turned against their will, I think that aspect of David's character goes to Daniel and his ability to check Lestat because he's just withered and tired with all of his bullshit. I think the personal and romantic aspects of the character are going to go to Louis and the way that he sticks around, but also still kind of acts as that combative presence to Lestat moving forward. I mean, there's still, even though Louis goes to the background in the books moving forward, I mean, he still pops up, quite a bit, and their interactions are just every single time just completely underlining all of them because they're so juicy and they just love nipping at each other, but also loving each other and talking about how beautiful each other is. But how much they want to set each other on fire. And I think the Telemasca aspect of it all is going to go to Raglan James. Now, Kay and Beck won, and To Have a Home both express sentiment that I've seen repeated time and time again on the internet of wanting to see Louis return to his photography. I almost said habit. That's a weird word to use. Hobby. That's what I meant to use. Along with the theory that Louis could be doing gig photography for Lestat's tour. That I don't believe. Do I want him to go back to photography? Yes. Because I think it's good for us all to have hobbies. And in the books, I mean, his main hobby is reading, and that doesn't translate very well to TV. It's not very interesting to see someone do this. Oh. Photography is a visual medium. It makes sense that it would be a better thing for him to do for a TV show. But then also, I think just thematically, in the 40s, he was using photography as trying to figure out the world around him and almost look at the world versus looking at himself. And so I think it would be nice now that he's figuring out, who he really is and has this new lease on life, for him to use photography as a way to see, how do I see the world? And what draws me in? What do I find beautiful? All those things. Why do I want to do this? Why am I here? There's a lot of discussion in the books about, life being about beauty and aesthetics, and I think a great way to kind of examine that is through photography. But then on the flip side too, maybe he's drawn to all the ugly, terrible things about humanity and stuff. I don't know, we'll see. But I think it's thematically an interesting route for him to take. But as far as him being a gig photographer for Lestat's tour, as much as I would love that, too much too soon. Okay, I think they're alright to kind of meet up once every now and then, but I don't think they're to the point, especially with the tour going on. The tour is specifically a response to the book. Lestat's mad and upset about the book, and so this is how he lashes out. I think there is going to be like lots of love too in there, but I don't think the subject material of what Lestat's singing about is really going to be conducive to them coming back together and wanting to work together day in, day out, living on a double-decker bus with a million other fucking people. No, not to that point. Could I see Louis attending a show and taking some photos of Loustat there? Sure. Could I see him taking them backstage afterwards and Loustat saying, oh, is that a camera? And Louis like, oh, maybe it is. He says, oh, did you take any photos? He said, oh, maybe I did. And Loustat says, oh, can I see them? And Louis says, oh, no. And Loustat says, let me see. And he takes the camera and he's like, oh, Louis, she's so beautiful. And Louis like, well, I had a great model. Ooh, ooh. And then they're fucking in a 70s motel. I'm just saying. But a permanent concert photographer, no, I don't see that. But what do I know? Everything. Remember? No! No! Fucker! She can't win! God fucking damn it. God damn it. I have so much. It's right by the TV. Ah! Fuck! So sorry for that horrible audio quality. Oh my god. Every time I do a new video, I think that she's got it. She's got this one in the bag. Nothing's gonna go wrong. And here we are. Moving on, though, to the big bitch of it all, Lestat de Liancourt. Emma Garden asks, how unfair is it that Sam Reed's makeup artist now owns more Urban Decay makeup than me? I'm gonna be real with you, sis. Seems pretty fair. She's a makeup artist. I would hope that makeup artists have more makeup palettes than you and me and the average layperson out on the street. But don't think of this as you having less than. Think about how much we're gonna gain from those 84 palettes of slutty peacock death trap eyeshadow and face paint that they're gonna shellac onto Sam Reed's face. This is good news. This is great news. We won. We're gonna see him in so much makeup. Rejoice. It is a new day. Emma also asks, is Sam Reed living his greatest fantasy right now? Listen, we don't need to get into Sam Reed's greatest fantasies. That's between him and Jesus, okay? But I will say, you know what? I bet he's having a grand old time. Do we think Lestat does crazy blood-sucking stuff on stage? Nah. It's the vampire Lestat. Come on. He's going to have blood cannon sprinklers at the front of his stage to douse his audience in like in Blade, okay? Of course there's going to be crazy blood-sucking stuff on stage. I want to see him and Louis being like Bowie and Iman. No, you don't. No, you don't. All right, maybe for a little bit, sure. But like, is that why we're tuning in? No. We want the friction, right? Bowie and Iman loved each other unequivocally. All right, match made in heaven. Louis and Lestat was a match made in priest blood. And that's why we love it. Do I want to see them blissed out and in love and like just shooting doe eyes to each other? Sure. I'm a romantic at my heart. But I'm also a twisted little freak in my left atrium. And regardless, it's gonna be some time before Lou and Lestat are at that point again, where they really, really do just like love each other again. And after that, it's only a matter of time before they're mad at each other and split up again. That's the great thing. Together and apart, together and apart, together and apart, forever and ever and ever. They never get tired of it. Estimating the Lestat cry count to be at least 30. Girl, double it. Why stop there? Triple it. I don't want one scene to pass where he's not on the verge of killing everyone around him, including himself. Okay? I'm kidding. We have to have ebbs and flows. But I'm ready for them to go through 300 tubes of cheap mascara just for Lestat. That's why the makeup artist has so much makeup, for reapplication. Sam has the ability to make us cry. Speak for yourself. It's never made me cry. Oh my god! He's gonna be fine! Tell him that you love him. I mean, suffice it to say, I don't have any strong feelings about how all of this ended out. How bad do you think this will be? How bad? I think it'll be diarrhea on an airplane bad. Ew! I sent a card to the writer's room earlier this year, and I said, make me cry even more this season. And I want that to happen. I want them to just beat the ever-loving shit out of my tear ducts. All right, I want my face so swollen, I look like the Elephant Man. I mean, that being said, I don't know what could be worse than Claudia dying and, like, seeing Lestat watch Claudia die, and then the hurricane reunion scene where, like, two parents are reliving the trauma of their child dying. I don't know that there's anything worse in the world than a parent having to outlive their child. So it's going to be hard to make me cry even more than I did. But boy, do I have faith in them. They haven't let me down yet. Oh, yeah, they're going to kill me. Rachel asks, if Lestat did a gender bend, which pop girlie would he be? Well, thanks, Rachel, you laborious little slut. What are you doing here? Addison Rae. I mean, initial reaction says Chapel, of course. She has the flamboyance, the theatricality, the vocals, the subject material, all in line with everything that Lestat would love. I do think, though, the quieter side of him would really, really be a Lord girly. It is me, Maggie says, if Lestat's show isn't like Kurt Wild's and Velvet Goldmine, I'm suing Roland Jones. Girl, just say you want to see Lestat's penis and be on your merry way. I'm just kidding. Love you, Maggie. I mean, they're taking... Glam rock is definitely a huge inspiration point for this, for Lestat. I don't see how they couldn't use Velvet Goldmine as an inspiration point. From, like, the theatricality and glamour of Brian Slade to the inhibitionless, wild magnetism of Kurt Wilde. I think both of those characters, like, mashed together is Lestat de Liancourt. Like, I think that he's going to have really big productions, but with that element of, like, crackling chaos. We've got a longer question from YouTube. How do you think the music will be incorporated into season 3? Some people are theorizing it'll be like the Hedwig and the Angry Inch, where we'll hear Lestat singing about his own backstory with music over artsy, self-narrated flashbacks due to the music setting, the style, theme, and narrative action. We had a taste of this with Louis' Murdering the Coven in season 2, where it's set to an unusually jazzy score with noir elements emphasizing the improbability of its murder spree without help. Well, hey now. I don't agree with that. Who says Louis couldn't have done that all on his own? This is actually a character trait that I think, like, Lestat and Louis have in common. Both of them up against improbable odds, going into a scenario where they just know within their soul, they're like, I'm gonna die. This is gonna kill me. Lestat with the wolves, Louis with taking out the coven. And yet they both make it out alive. And yet there's always someone coming up and being like, actually, I don't think that you could have killed 7 wolves all by yourself. I don't think that you could kill the whole coven all by yourself. He's a man with cold fire in his blood. Of course he could accomplish it all on his own. I mean, I get what you're saying. It does seem improbable, but, you know, a wise man once said, only the impossible can do the impossible. Ever thought about that? But as far as the music goes, I think it'll be kind of a mix of everything that everyone's speaking. I don't think it's going to be an outright interview like how seasons 1 and 2 were. I think we need to throw the Comic-Con teaser away as far as, like, taking cues for what the rest of the season's going to be. You know, that was something that they just, like, whipped up really quickly to give us a little nibble. I don't think that that's necessarily, like I said, anything to base what season 3 is actually going to look like upon. And I mean, obviously there's a huge tonal shift in this season. So I do think the way that they tell story is going to be one of those different elements, those risky elements. But Roland just said, like, a couple weeks ago, he has like 16 songs from Daniel Hart on his phone. That's an insane number of songs. Will all of them make it into the season? maybe not. But if they do, then that's, if there's 8 episodes, it's 2 songs per episode, if they're just parsing it out like that. I don't think it'll necessarily be a formula where it is like exactly 2 songs per episode. Maybe one episode is more musical, the other episode is more interview heavy. I think it's going to go back and forth. But yeah, I do anticipate this being driven mainly by the documentary aspect. But I think we're going to have elements of, I could see more of like the personal aspects of his life being more spoken about. But also like within the books, the main point of his songs and his album, is to tell his story, but also share the history of the vampires. So I think that, we could see, like, if we get into the history of the vampires in the song, this early on, I could definitely see those being the more kind of surreal, kind of song narrated, elements where we're kind of like going back and it's floaty and weird and fantastical and Lestat's there. I think all of that, where it's not as tied to like inner emotion, can be like fancified. And then also, I mean, as far as like Lestat's concert goes, I could see the concert almost being like a theater production, with actors and like other people on the show, on the stage, to kind of like act out some elements. I don't think every song is going to be telling a story. I think some songs are definitely just going to be like, why the fuck did you leave me with your like bitch ass, with our bitch ass ex? Very angry. I think some songs are going to be centered more around emotion and present feelings and people in the modern times, and again lashing out. However, I could see him, having some songs more reflective of his past, including like almost telling this heightened story of himself through his concert, kind of like Rocket Man, how it's all kind of taking place around this AA meeting, but then we like go back in time through song and everything. I could see that. I feel like most of the songs are going to be reserved for like performing on stage and not necessarily being used as much for telling the narrative. But I don't know, because that would just be so wild for an entire season. But I don't know, maybe we're getting our glee on. I mean, the 2 points of reference that they've explicitly stated movie-wise are Hedwig and the Angry Inch and Rocky Horror Picture Show, which both use song to like tell the story directly. So maybe, like I said, though, I think it's going to be a mix of everything. I've had quite a few questions too about like where I think this season is going to end, how I think that they're going to utilize time between the past versus the present. I think that we're going to spend more time in the present than we did in season 1 and season 2. Not to say that the Dubai storyline was not as important as the past, but because obviously what's happening in the modern times is of the utmost importance, because that's going to be what determines where these characters go from here. However, it was one task that we really needed to accomplish, and that was figuring out what really happened in Louis Deluxe's life and what role Armand had in all of that. But like it was just like one main goal, figuring out Louis' story. Whereas now, with this present storyline, we're starting a third of the way through, or over halfway through, 2/3 of the way through. Keep changing the fraction on them, and you'll get there eventually. 2/3 of the way through the North American tour. All right, Lestat's I've been watching some rock documentaries recently, and this is the perfect time when everyone starts to really hate each other and starts to lose their mind and starts to just like really go off the deep end into drugs and, getting with random strangers and getting into fights and being a publicity nightmare, which I think is an optimal time to introduce us to Lestat. Ultimate mess. That's what we love to see. It's the recipe for a disaster, and I can't wait to take a bite of that cake. So we're going to have to deal with where he is emotionally and mentally there. We're going to be seeing him in concert. We're going to be dealing with him telling his story. We're going to be dealing with him and Daniel together. Louis popping. How does he factor into this again? Armand's going to be popping up again. Raglan's going to be popping up again with the Talamasca, I'm sure, because they've got eyes on them now and we are aware of it. Sam, the DJ, and Fareed have both been mentioned as people who are coming back. What are they doing? Sam, the DJ, he's going to get recruited on to be the sound engineer as penitence for his role in everything that happened in the 40s. Or maybe Lestat's just going to kill him. Who knows? So I think there's a lot more that they're going to have to deal with in the present storyline than what we necessarily had to get to the end point of this season versus the prior 2 seasons. But obviously there's a lot of backstory and past that we need to delve into. We got to cover the Nikki stuff. We got to cover the Paris stuff. We got to cover Loustat and Gabrielle, Marius, Akasha, all of that. Like I said, I feel like maybe we'll revisit. I mean, we got to revisit. Where's Lestat been? You know, when Louis was off with Armand. And even before, when Louis and Claudia were in Europe, what was he doing in the States? We're got to brush up on that at least a little bit, right? And there just seems to be like so much story that they're going to have to pack in to this one season, which makes me question if we're going to end season 3 with the end of The Vampire Lestat. In my mind, I think no. They split Interview with a Vampire into 2 books. Yes, I know it was at AMC's request. They initially were just going to keep it into... I said that they split it into 2 books. I meant 2 seasons. But I mean, the initial plan was to keep Interview with the Vampire 1 season. And, you know, they'd scripted all of that out. So they'd figured it out how to do that. So, I mean, I think that they could do that with The Vampire Lestat. But 8 episodes for sure if they do that. If not, guys, do I even dare to hope that what if we got like 10? What if we got 10 episodes? I would shit so many bricks I could build a house. Oh! So if they do end up splitting The Vampire Lestat into 2 seasons, the thing is, with Interview with the Vampire, it's broken into like part 1 and part 2. The book is.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen.
So it's actually split into 4 parts. However, the split from part 1 to part 2 is a very clear focus change and a very clear shift in the story that we're telling. It's a very obvious halfway point.
The Vampire Lestat, yeah, it's broken up into multiple different parts. I think it's like 5 parts. But there's not like a clear, definitive halfway point. At least in my opinion. Maybe the halfway point would be after Lestat and Gabrielle leave Paris. But that doesn't seem... See, that doesn't feel like a climactic enough point to leave the story on. That's the thing with this book. Like, it really ends on such a climactic point that I feel like the end of The Vampire Lestat is like the only natural end to a season. If they do split it into 2 books, the only thing I could think, like the best end point other than the end of the book would be like right when Lestat meets Marius. I could see them like leaving it on a cliffhanger of like, well, not necessarily a cliffhanger, but you know, the final thing that we see for like the past storyline is Marius approaching him, because we'll know at that point that, you know, Lestat's been trying to reach Marius, or maybe not. You know, who knows what they're going to change in the past storyline. Like, we can't use the books as like exact guides. But then it'd be like, okay, so for the people who haven't read the books, they know that Lestat's been searching for this guy. He finally found him. And then for the book readers, it's like, holy shit, there's Marius. And we end on like a big gag-worthy moment where, hey, we get to finally meet him before, you know, we have to wait till season 4 to actually get into everything with him. My other issue, too, with us not ending with the ending of The Vampire Lestat is I don't necessarily know it would be a good stopping point in the present storyline either, other than Lestat getting kidnapped. And maybe it's just me having tunnel vision, because I don't necessarily see them wanting to drag out the tour into 2 seasons. I feel like 2 seasons of being on a double-decker bus might get tired. Maybe it won't. I mean, I could have said that for season 1 and season 2 of Interview with Vampire. 2 seasons of being in a Dubai pit house, that'll get tired. So ever since I learned that this was going to be a tour and not a one night only in San Francisco, I immediately started thinking, okay, well then, so when does Akasha play into this and crash the whole venue? And I thought, oh, well, it would make perfect sense for it to be the final show. Because that's also a time when maybe Lestat's going to do something really insane and really crazy to pull in that attention. And then here comes Big Vampire Mama to fuck everything up. And it also, it seems like it would build into a climax of like other vampires too, wanting to be like, okay, so this guy's been out on tour, been able to get away with this bullshit. It's time that we come together with all these vampires in this great conversion to finally take him down. When are we going to do that? Well, at the penultimate final concert of it all. So I think the final concert on the tour is going to mimic the concert from the books. I'm trying to think of like what would be the most satisfying ending to this season. And I can't think of anything more satisfying than ending it on Akasha crashing everything and kidnapping Lestat. Like, we have all these episodes to like really endear ourselves to him. And I think that, yeah, we are going to finally maybe get a little bit another reunion for Louis and Lestat officially towards the end of the season and be like, oh, they're getting back together. And then, wrong, bitch. It's such a good ending. I don't know. So that's why I don't think that Devil's Minion is going to get as much time in this season, because we have too much shit to plow through before we get there. To play devil's advocate against myself here, though, since apparently I've not talked enough about this, I keep saying how I don't know how we're going to get through so much story. So does it not make sense to split it into 2 seasons? And as I said, the clearest halfway point to me would be Gabrielle and Lestat leaving, and or Lestat meeting Marius. But I think the whole Gabrielle and Lestat leaving, ending on that note, I could maybe see that in a thematic sense to almost mirror the end of season 1, where Louis and Claudia, having defeated their tyrannical leader, run off to new realms in Europe to find other vampires. End season 3's past storyline with Lestat and Gabrielle, having defeated their tyrannical leader, Armand, running off to new adventures to find what? Another vampire. Louis and Claudia running to Europe and ultimately Paris. Lestat and Gabrielle running away from Paris. I think it would also show some really nice synchronicity between Lestat and Claudia's character and how similar they really are, because they kind of almost have this, like I said, a mirrored arc in this very specific regard. I think the foremost thing, though, for me that makes me consider that we're not going to stretch this into 2 seasons is the sheer novelty of Lestat being a rock star on tour. It's fantastic. It's amazing. It's all I've wanted to see since I read the book. Like, I don't care what else happens. If it gets canceled after season 3, I will gnash my teeth and tear out my hair, but I will be happy that I saw Rockstar Lestat. Okay. However, it's such a novelty. I just feel like if we have 2 seasons worth of it, it's like having too much eggnog at Christmas. Like, it's delicious. Oh, it tastes so good. And you think you want more, and then you do, and the next thing you know, you're vomiting into your mom's rose bush outside and it's 13 degrees. That's not a good look on Jesus' birthday. Santa's gonna give you a lump of coal. Charcoal to help settle your stomach for Christmas. But I mean, I am saying, if we do split things into 2 seasons, at that halfway point, there could be more time for some Devil's Minion stuff in there. Just for you guys. But at the end of the day, we don't know any fucking information. This is all just me talking out of my ass. Jasmine Smith 4696 asks, do you think we'll get an entire retelling of season 1 in Lestat's point of view, or just bits? Is there anything you're hoping to see in season 3? There's too much new stuff to cover for us to get a full retelling of season 1 through Lestat's point of view, and that's not how it goes in the books anyways. Again, not that we need to claw onto everything that happens in the books as God's green gospel. But I could see us revisit a few scenes. So as I mentioned, September 8th, 1973, I could see us revisiting that from Lestat's point of view. I could see us revisiting Louis' turning. Because I just want to see that for myself. The Mardi Gras scene and the murder of Lestat and, everything that happened after that. I think that'll lead perfectly into what he's been doing in the time between then the trial and then after the trial. I could see them also including a scene between Lestat and Claudia, like a new scene that we haven't seen before from their time in New Orleans, to kind of showcase their relationship and also gives more illumination to when Claudia comes back and starts haunting the shit out of Lestat. Because yes, do I think that's going to happen? 100%. Nostradamus could look me in my eyes and tell me, Autumn, that's simply not in the cards. And I would say, shut up, weather boy. You're wrong and your breath stinks. Could we revisit the daddy-daughter bonding scenes from episode 4 in season 1? Sure. But I think maybe they could do something, like I said, new that we've not seen at all. Sophia, lovely Sophia, asks, will we get a Dreamstat-esque representation of Lestat's guilt with Claudia? Or might we be graced with the presence of her real ghost? And, in the books, Anne does, I think she kind of leans the readers to more believe that when Louis and Lestat are haunted by Claudia, that it is more a manifestation of their guilt. But ultimately, at the end of the day, she does leave it open. And I choose to believe that was her real ghost. And she really is coming back and haunting them a little bit. Because doesn't she deserve it? All right, do I want her to spend forever in purgatory and this well of confusion and hatred and rage? No, I would like for her to pass on eventually. However, I think that she's owed a little bit of haunting, a little bit of turbulence, a little bit of grief giving to the two people who fucked her over more than anyone in her life. I mean, she said in season 2, right before she was executed, that if there is an afterlife, she's gonna come back and kill every single one of those people in the theater. And if there wasn't one, she's still gonna find a way. And I think if there's anyone in the world who could manifest an afterlife out of just sheer willpower, it's Claudia. So, yeah. I think it's Ghost Claudia for real. What scene from TVL are you hoping they recreate in season 3? Lots of questions like this. I mean, obviously the wolf killer scene. Obviously. No, I need to see the wolf killer scene because I've had the idea for a fan cam set to the Yeah Yeah Yeah's wolf about the whole wolf killer scene and Lestat the wolf killer. So I gotta realize that dream. All right. Don't let me down. But it's more than just like seeing him kill the wolves and everything and showing like the fighter that he is and the warrior that he is. But it's that moment that really defines the rest of his life. It's that Magnus sees in him and draws him to Lestat. That, and I mean like his wavy blonde hair, blue eyes, and marble chiseled jaw. That's what sparks kind of this relationship with Nikki. It's Nikki coming and, with his father making the wolf killer cloak and matching boots to boot. But it's also like the first time that Lestat felt like a monster, and kind of had to confront being a killer. And then, that's so emblematic of what he then will become later on. And how much it crushes him. How devastated he is by the whole ordeal. Anything with Nikki and Lestat, those two hurt my heart more than any other pairing. Rereading The Vampire Lestat, knowing what's going to happen, is just like having open heart surgery performed on you by rats with tweezers. And no anesthesia. You just get a Reese's peanut butter cup in your mouth. And that's it. I love it. I love it. The scene where Gabrielle and Lestat jump out of the church and scare all the villagers. I love it. It's such a turn on the classic horror movie scene where, the monster comes out to defy God and defy, all these faithful worshipers and scare the shit out of everyone. And really from their perspective, they're just like, fuck, we're stuck in this building and we gotta get out. They're like, okay, well, how do we get out of here without them trying to kill us? Well, I guess we just got to be as scary as fucking possible so that they're too frightened to do anything except run away. I just like imagining that all monsters and all scary stories are really, it's just a defense mechanism. The Ring Girl, she crawls out of the TV set just so that you won't crawl in after her. She wants to be left alone. And she's like, oh, fuck, they saw me. Shit, well, I guess I got to scare the shit out of them and maybe kill them. whatever. The scene when Lestat is going through the ball and he sees Armand, and Armand gives him like this beautiful, wonderful vision and draws him out into the courtyard and then attacks him. And Lestat is like, not again. Like, this is my chance, you know, like a Magnus 2.0. You won't get me like he got me. I'm stronger now. And so he like beats the shit out of Armand. Like, I'm talking 100% pulp in that orange juice. Okay. Whoa. And all the coven vampires who've been like scared of Armand and running away from him hear the commotion or kind of looking behind trees and like, shit, got his ass whooped. But then ultimately Lestat's like, oh, look at this beautiful broken thing. Let me take him back to the castle. Honestly, you know what I could see after September 8th, him being really pissed off that Louis wouldn't talk to him and that Lestat tried to get Armand to tell Louis that he loved him. That he does, like, because there's that fun little scene in the book that Lestat talks about when he's convalescing, like before he takes his dirt nap and he's just in the house, and Armand comes up to him and he's like, you fucking dweeb, you fucking loser, you little rat catcher, eating your rats in your dirty grubby little house. Fuck you. Yeah, just being really like mean and demented.
Immediately followed by him being like, please, 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 love me, drink my blood, be mine, please.
One scene that I don't think will probably end up making the cut, but I would just really love to see, because it really affected me the last time I read it, but it's the scene when Lestat turns Nikki and he gets to see inside of his mind, and what he sees is just a bird sailing over an unending ocean. I just thought it was so heartrending, you know, because most of the time when they talk about seeing people's visions in their mind, it's memories or fantasies of what they wish could happen, but they're always present, and it shows like this non-presence of Nikki, or that he is the bird, and that goes perfectly along with all the bird imagery that's established within the show. We'll never have rest, we'll never have solace, we'll keep just flying and flying over the black churning ocean, just waiting for the wings to finally give out and for him to fall into it all and it suck him down into the deep dark depths. And it's just such a harrowing visualization of just deep and all-consuming depression and kind of madness that Nicholas feels, and Lestat is horrified by it, and kind of like that's when he realizes there's absolutely no way to fix Nikki. Like, the depth of depravity within him is, there's no conquering it. I think that's like the moment when Lestat realizes that like he has to kind of almost give up on Nikki, even though he doesn't want to, but there's nothing else that he can do for him. Like, he's done the most. He thought maybe turning him to a vampire, giving him what he wanted, could sort it out, and it didn't. It's only going to make things worse. And Nikki will never be better, and their relationship will never recover. And it's just horrible. Therefore, I want to see it. Which one of your 30G episode predictions are most likely, in your opinion, unhinged or not? The only thing remotely likely would be the Lestat enters the venue on the back of an elephant. And even then, that full stop. Nothing of what I said in that video is likely at all. Except, Louis buys emerald rings. Oh, maybe they go to Disneyland. They could do that. But again, that was just a post-it, so it's not anything I added to it. Everything I said was utter bullshit.
That's a lame answer. I say, Lestat getting in a fight with old Bubba Longstockings whilst wearing slutty leather overalls.
Do you think they released something special for SDCC? No. I'm kidding. Guys, I think this is going to be the biggest Comic-Con for them yet. All right. I think, here's the deal. Great time, since they're in the middle of production, to announce casting news. I could see them announcing who's going to play Gabrielle, who's going to play Marius. Akasha, maybe not. I think they might hold off on that. But yeah, I could see big casting news being announced there. I could see us getting a music video and or a little 30-second teaser of what they've filmed thus far. They're doing the building wraps. Did you guys see that little post from the Comic-Con gal with blurred out photos of the building wraps? Okay, no amount of blurring can disguise that interview with the vampire color scheme and that head of blonde hair. Okay, I spot Lestat. And depending on, last year they only had one building wrap. Year previously, though, they had four. So, regardless, we're definitely going to get at least one new promotional photo. And why stop there? I think we're going to get promotional photos as well for us to just like fucking gag over. We're going to go from drought to monsoon back to drought again. Okay? I think they're really going to hammer us with a lot of shit at Comic-Con and then boop. Peace out again. Dream cover to be included in the show. Well, not to be like basic, but Total Eclipse of the Heart, right? Hello? Written as a vampire ballad. And I need you now tonight. The drama, the theatrics. Can you imagine Lestat doing a shot-for-shot remake of that music video? Greatest music video of all time, I gotta add. We can take it to the end of the line. The love is like a shadow on the all of the time. I was chatting with one of my friends recently about the fact that Rollin mentioned back in season 1 that he had initially cut a trailer to season 1 to the tune of Lilac Wine. Lilac Wine. Ever since then, I thought, what if Loustat sang that? It's got such peaks and falls. Like, it's a very almost subdued kind of song, but it's all about the emotion, which I think from like the little glimpses that we've seen so far have just come to me and come to me revamped. Sam really has a lot of emotion and depth to his voice that I think he could just knock a gorgeous rendition out of the park of Lilac Wine. Lilac Wine. Other contenders, I think Bloodletting by Concrete Blonde, but specifically the Still in Hollywood extended version. It's darker, grittier, more sinister, and better. I think that would be a very cheeky nod because it's quite literally called in parentheses, The Vampire Song. It was inspired by Interview with the Vampire. I think it'd be a lovely little cheeky reference. Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin, mainly because I've always thought that it would be a great stripper song. And I think there's wonderful, miraculous things that Lestat could do to a guitar during those solos. But also, I mean, the lyrical content. Been dazed and confused for so long it's not true. Wanted a woman, never bargained for you. Lots of people talking, few of them know. Soul of a woman was created below. Are we getting Scorned Lover yet? Yeah. You Oughta Know by Alanis Morissette, but only if it's directly followed by Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. Every time I stretch my nails down someone else's back, I hope you feel it. Nothing compares to you. As a musician, I'm nervous. Don't get me wrong, Daniel Hart is amazing, completely trust in his compositions, but Rockstar? It's tricky, you know? It is tricky. I won't deny that. Especially in 2025. Rock music, not exactly popping off on the charts. And that's why I think it's great that they're taking so much influence from all different artists all around time, genre, and time and genre. Those were the two things I was going to say. And I think that's very fitting for Lestat anyways. I don't think you could pin him down into any one genre because you can't pin him down into any one kind of feeling or vibe or emotion. That's why I think the music in the Queen of the Damned movie, even though, yeah, it's like the most praised aspect aside from Aaliyah's acting, it just, yeah, it's good music, but it does not fit for Lestat. Sure, for like any old grungy, gross, emo, vampire, whatever, fine. But Lestat, no. New metal, having entirely new metal songs, didn't work. But as far as Daniel Hart goes, I mean, he toured with Bowie. He was in a band, and he did that, oh my God. What's her name? She was like one of the, like, only 3 people talking about Interview with the Vampire before season 2. She did an interview with Daniel Hart at the beginning of this year. And he talked about how, like, with doing composition, he really did kind of miss out on songwriting and making songs with the band again. And they've hired on 2 additional songwriters onto the writing staff. So I think they're really setting themselves up for, like, the utmost success. Well, I won't say the utmost success. It's still fucking risky as hell. But I think they're really putting a lot of focus and energy and care and time into developing really, really solid music. And from the musical inspirations that Rollin spat out at Comic-Con, I'm going to go out and say I think he has great taste in music. And he seems very excited about the songs that Daniel's produced. So if that's the case, if he's happy, I feel like I'm going to be happy, and I don't think that we need to worry. All right, I got to cut this up at some point. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions. Sorry if I didn't get to yours. I'm sure we're going to get into more and more as the season goes on, as we get more production updates. Yada, 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 yada. I really am screwing up this grand return to Autumn Nights. I don't know where my camera stopped recording, but maybe that was just God interfering and saying, girl, you need to shut the fuck up because you've been going on for way too long. And yeah, I have. So till next time, guys. I hope you sleep well. I hope you have a properly working AC unit wherever you are. And hey, when you're dreaming tonight, if you just so happen to see a tall brunette wearing glasses, don't run away. Come say hi. Catch you next time.